Governor Saidi convenes review of economic and financial viewpoints. Victim Center holds press briefing on execution of West African migrants. And Gambians displeased over mass deportation of migrants. This and more coming on Gambia24. Good evening, you're watching Gambia24 News with me, Mariama Cham, and thanks for joining us. The Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of the Gambia on Thursday presents its quarterly review of economic and financial developments. As part of their mandate, the Governor of Central Bank, Boaz Saidi, gave intense review of the reports and outlined policy decisions to be considered on various economic indicators. Sohna Tunkara tells us more.
With the advent of the global pandemic, the IMF in its January 2021 World Economic Outlook estimates a global contraction for 2020 at 3.5%, 0.9% higher than projected in the previous forecast. Governor Saidi says this reflects a stronger momentum in the second half of 2020 as countries adjust to the pandemic through medical interventions and policy support measures. Focusing on price development, consumer price inflation elevated in January 2021 on account of increase in oil and food components.
Headline inflation rose to 7.6% in January 2021 from 5.7% in December 2020 and by 0.2 percentage points from a year ago. Food inflation increased to 9.1% in January 2021 from 8.1% in the corresponding period in 2020. The rise in food prices is explained by the increase in all subcomponents of the food basket, except for a few.
Concerns over the hike in price of commodities, mainly food, is associated with the increase in taxation. Governor Saidi says tax increment does not affect the pricing system.
Government increased taxes and that's why prices have gone up. This is not accurate. Price increase, the tax increase has nothing to do with the increase in prices. And in the Gambia, the major commodities which cause the increase in prices, for instance, rice, is zero tax. So it's not because of the tax increase that is resulting to the increase in price. A part of the increase in commodity prices, like I said, is structural. And that is being addressed by the government in trying to improve the efficiency of the port.
Part of the committee's observation on key economic indicators reveals a projected recovery for this year, despite the devastating impact of COVID.
The central bank's composite index of economic activity, which is a high-frequency measure of the level of activity in the economy, shows that economic activity contracted in 2020 and is expected to recover in 2021. Furthermore, the slowdown in economic activity resulted in a significant decline in private sector credit. However, fiscal and monetary policy interventions to the pandemic have mitigated the impact of the crisis on the economy.
The governor highlights 9 key economic indicators. Among them are global economic outlook, banking sector developments, domestic debt development, monetary and price developments. The report indicates that appropriate policy decisions are taken to maintain the policy rate, the required reserve, and the interest rates on the standing deposit facility at 10, 13, and 2.5% respectively. For iAfrican News, Sohna Tunkara.
Central Bank of the Gambia presents its quarterly review of economic and financial developments. Now, the Gambia Transport Union said lack of standard garages and car parks have caused a major traffic congestion in the country as the government remains silent on the matter. Omar Sise, president of the union, says despite slow response from the government, talks are being held to establish standard car parks that could ease the transportation challenges facing the country. More of that in this report. As small and narrow the country's roads are, vehicles and cars could be seen parked on highways, thereby causing uncomfortable conditions to both pedestrians and other vehicles. Most of the country's garages, in most cases, are attached to compounds. The polluted air, toxic fumes, and other chemicals can find their way into people's houses. These pose a great danger to the occupants. It can also potentially affect their health. Omar Sise, president of the Gambia Transport Union, says lack of proper traffic management and people's attitude are key challenges that causes traffic congestion.
Unfortunate, Gambia over 56 years old, since independent up to date, we cannot have a proper garage. We are talking about the land issue, but that's getting, problem both day and night. But I think you remember last year on June 22nd, we went to sit-down strike. Garage is part of our demands. After the sit-down strike, we sit with the government, with the necessary stakeholders, like KMC councils and the central government, priority to the government to see how to promote the free movement. Transport is the wheel of the economy. These are all challengeable issues. So, but it's very just unfortunate. We are here in the project from government, but still, this car park issue, government is here deaf on this.
Caesar accused the government of turning a deaf ear to the issues of the garage. He recalled that access to proper garages was part of their demands during the union's last year's sit-down strike.
Transport is the most challengeable issue so that for our daily livings. Because by right, if you want to go to Brickham, you're going to spend less. It's less than 30 kilometers. You go for 2 hours, less than 30 kilometers. This is alarming. The vehicle are getting increasing. We don't have regulation. The traffic management is very poor. This is clear fact. It's very poor. People can park anywhere they like. The vendors can sell anywhere they want. So end of the day, what we expect more traffic congestion. The fuel is increasing. So drivers, they're businessmen, they're looking for profit. And
not only the union, but drivers and the Gambian society have described the lack of structural garages and standard car parks as challenging and frustrating. They therefore called for proper actions to be taken in order to ease their movement and further avoid preventable road accidents, among others. Reporting for iAfrica News, this is Mariama Cham. Gambia's transport union blames the country's traffic congestion and lack of standard car parks as government is still silent on the issue. Now, the Gambia Center for Victims of Human Rights Violations on Thursday held a press briefing regarding the execution of some West African migrants in July 2005. Speaking at the meeting, the victims urged the government of the Gambia to bring the perpetrators of this heinous crime to justice. Aminda reports.
The Gambia Center for Victims of Human Rights Violations, established in 2017, brings together victims whose rights were violated under the 22-year rule of former President Jammeh. The organization holds a press briefing on Thursday, which was centered on the killings of over 50 West African migrants. The sole survivor of that massacre, Martin Carey, says the TRRC is expected to present perpetrators before a competent court.
So now, through Jammeh to Justice campaign, we have been have access to present our case in TRC. And I hope the time I came to Gambia, the way people have confidence in TRC, the way people believe TRC, even not in Ghana, in Gambia here, Ghana. When you ask the foreign ministers, any authorities, oh, the TRC is working. The TRC is working. So I hope the fate of the victims, the fate of future Gambia depends on the recommendation that the TRC will make. And they are not expecting any recommendation, but rather seeing perpetrators brought before courts of competence so that justice must be served.
Kehinde Enagami, a Nigerian whose brother was part of the West African migrants murdered in the Gambia, says in order to heal the pain they experience, there must be justice first before any reconciliation.
Yesterday here, I was in the company of Mr. Mnyaku and Mr. Martin. We went to see these ECOMIG offices. And something struck me. These were Ghanaians sacrificing their comfort, their safety to come to the Gambia to ensure the stability, peace of life and property, safety of life and property in the Gambia. Irrespective of the fact that their countrymen, fellow countrymen, were brutally killed, that did not stop them. So what that tells me is that as Africans, we are one. What happened in the Gambia was terrible as it seems. But the truth is, for us to have healing, for us to be able to overcome this, there must be justice. There must be justice, because without justice, there won't be any reconciliation.
National Human Rights Commission's chairman, Emmanuel Diouf, says the commission will take a prominent position in the human rights violations to make sure justice is prevailed.
We are all awaiting the recommendations of the TRRC. I'm sure they're winding up soon. In June, I was told. But the National Human Rights Commission will be at the forefront to monitor the implementation of its recommendation. And I want to assure you that we will take a prominent place, a prominent position in this process to make sure that justice is done in this country. There has been victims. Gambians have been victims. We have children of victims here. We have those who are victims. We have the victims, the Ghanaians who are victims, the Nigerians, among others. And we cannot allow impunity to reign in our country.
The Gambia Center for Victims of Human Rights Violations serves as an advocacy platform and engages the government, local and international stakeholders with the aim of addressing human rights violations. The organization has registered over 1,000 victims in the country and has more than 14 vocal points across the country. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Amindao.
That story by Amindao on the Victim Center will take us to a short break, and we'll be right back with the rest of the news. Stay with us.
The pride we take in our brand, the work we put into constantly change the landscape and elevate real estate in the Gambia, it's compared to none. From inception, our goal was to add value to the beautiful Gambian landscape. That's why we are proud innovators of community estates. Kololi Sands is an exceptional piece of work, tailored for ultimate convenience and luxury, to bring you an element of finesse that is rare but unique in its own. This is also our pride and joy, and we welcome you to the exquisite beauty right here in Kololi and right here on the waterfront. Kololi Sands, feel the ocean breeze at your doorstep.
Welcome back, and now to the rest of the news. Gambians raised concern over the mass repatriation of migrants who made their way to Europe with the aim of boosting their living standards. On Thursday, a Dutch flight believed to be carrying Gambian migrants reportedly landed at the Banjul International Airport. The airline, operated by Corendon, according to sources, repatriated 20 Gambian migrants from Germany. Let's hear more of that in this report. The number of migrants to Europe is significantly increasing as the economy of many countries, particularly Africa, is crumbling down amid the COVID-19 pandemic. In the Gambia, thousands of people, mostly youths, venture through irregular means of finding their way in Europe in search of greener pasture. Like in many African countries, Gambians who made it to Europe through the perilous journey are the sole breadwinners of their families. In 2019, the remittances contributed 20% to the country's gross domestic product. Many Gambians, including Seyduba, blame the Barrow-led administration for the mass deportation of Gambians, but describes the move as unpleasant, arguing that 80% of Gambian households depend on remittances sent from abroad.
Man suma halat moy nekul lu rafet because am nga nit bo xamne dal joge na ci rew.
This is very unpleasant because if you leave your country and go to another country, your own country should be able to stand up for you. But if the case is to bring back those people, then there will be more difficulties in the country. because many households depend on remittances for support. Out of 100, 80% depend on outside for support. If you deport these people who fend for their families, then that will create a big problem in the country.
Isa Kamara, a vendor at the Sarakunda market, also explains that some families sold their fortunes to help their people travel to Europe in search for a better life. According to him, the deported migrants should be compensated by the government to enable them engage in other activities.
Some families sold their houses and even their lands to send their relatives to the back way. So they risk their life through the journey. If you should bring them back, at least you should give them jobs or refund their money so that they will at least engage themselves into some businesses. But to bring these people just like that, it does not make sense. There aren't enough employment opportunity in the Gambia. To be honest, we don't have big companies that can cater for greater employment like other countries, so that at the end of the day, what they could achieve in Europe can be achieved here at least.
The unemployment rate in the Gambia is significantly increasing, and many youths are left in unpleasant conditions. Thus, according to Boinjai, traveling abroad is the only possible option to earn a standard living.
This is painful because these are our brothers and sisters, and some of them even sold their lands and assets just to embark on this journey, because it is hard to earn a living here and it's difficult to achieve what you want unless you travel. So if these people are brought back to the country, it's really painful, and this sometimes creates lots of problems because those deported need to work and earn a living. If not, some may look for other means to get it, and that is not good for our country's future.
The Gambia government is yet to make any statement with regards to the frequent deportations, despite several allegations against the borough administration. The government had earlier denied signing any deportation with any country to repatriate Gambians back home. Reporting for iAfrica News, this is Mariama Cham. Gambians, they are not happy with the repatriation of Gambians from Germany. Now to matters of the Truth Commission. Ibrahim Jawara Demba, a former inspector of Barra Police Station, testified at the Truth Commission on the issue of the West African migrants on Thursday. According to Mr. Demba, the IGP instructed Babakar Ba to transfer the record of the old diary, which contains the information of the West African migrants, to a new diary, leaving out the information of the migrants. Amindo tells us more.
Ibrahim Jawara Demba, an assistant commissioner of police, tells the Truth Commission how he got to know about the migrants in 2005 when he was an inspector at the Barra Police Station. The witness says Bubakar Ba told him that he was instructed by the ex-IGP to transfer the records of the old diary to a new diary.
One day I received a call from my commissioner, warned Babakar Ba to report to the office of the Inspector General of Police.
Who was this commissioner?
Jiba, Usman Jiba.
Usman Jiba.
Then he came back.
What? Who came back?
Babakar Ba.
Did you advise him of the message you received?
Yes, Counsel, I advised him the message I received.
Did he go to respond to answer to the IGP?
Yes, Counsel, he went to answer to the IGP.
Wow, Counsel, IGP. And who was IGP at the time?
It was Usman Sonko.
Usman Sonko. And then what happened?
Then he went. He came back. He told me that the Inspector General of Police asked him,
Inspector General of Police, let
him transfer the old diary to a new diary.
Na dal di sotte de ko na liñ bindon ci diary bu maget bi ci diary bu es.
I said once he gave that instruction,
mané ko gom ka jox na la ndigal bobu.
I think the instruction should have come through the commissioner to me.
Yaakar na ne ndigal bobu war na jaaré ci commissioner bi ñew ci man.
Once it's come direct from you,
way da comme que ñew na rek ci yow,
go ahead with his order.
The Assistant Commissioner also told the Commission that he supervised the transfer of the records of the new diary, excluding the information of the West African migrants.
He said to transfer the old one, this one, to the new diary. He knows what he was told by the minister.
And he told you. He told you. And you supervised that work. You supervised him.
Yes, I supervised him.
Exactly. And you supervised him to transfer the information from the old diary to the new diary, excluding the information about the Ghanaians.
It was instruction he was given by the IGP.
You know that, don't you?
Yes, as he told me.
But you've held us here 10 minutes telling us you did not know that.
The witness informs the Commission that he was later told by Boubacar Ba that he handed over the old diary of the station to the then IGP Usman Sonko. The Truth Commission had testimonies from different witnesses that the migrants were arrested by security personnel at the coastal settlement of Bara before they were transported to Banjul. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Amindao.
That TRC report by Amindao will bring us to the end of Gambia24. Thanks for watching. I am your presenter, Mariama Cham, and do have a good night.
Gambia may be the smallest country in Africa, but it will host the second largest gathering of world leaders in 2022. To successfully host the OIC Summit and put the Gambia on the global stage, the government of the Gambia set up OIC Gambia to mobilize resources for the implementation of key development and infrastructure projects on a scale never seen before. 20 new roads will be constructed across the country, and the Bertel Harding